everyone, to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. I am Aubrey Edwards here with my best friend, Will Washington. I was like, who the hell are you? Will Washington.
Yeah, I know, but you also stumbled over your own name, so I was like, all right, I see where
Well, it's like, to be fair, it's not my real name, so it's like, whatever.
I know. So you almost have to remember.
But no offense to you, Will, but I actually have my best friend on here today. I'm very excited to welcome Chris Estelle to the podcast. He is our head of wardrobe. He is my personal coffee friend and one of my closest friends at AEW. So hello, sir. How are you?
Very well. Thank both of you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
I also appreciate you constantly rescheduling this because this is now the third time we've tried to do this. So the last time was Will's fault because he needs a root canal. The time before that, you were traveling and a bomb exploded in an airport.
Yeah, it was quite the ordeal.
Yes.
I'd just come back from, I don't remember, but I was landed at MCI and we were standing by the baggage claim, waiting on the bags, and somebody's bag came off of the conveyor belt and it hit the stopper and exploded. And luckily it was a heavy built box and it exploded up and not out. And apparently the guy had some lithium batteries. He was a carpenter or something like that. He traveled for work. And, you know, the thing that they ask you every time when you check a bag, do you have any lithium batteries? Apparently he did. And it took me back to a previous time in my life. I didn't know where I was for a few minutes. So, but yeah, it was very scary. And then I didn't get my luggage until the following Monday.
Which is crazy because you travel with your sewing machine.
That's correct. And without that, I can't, I'm at a standstill. I can't do anything. And
so forced vacation is what you're saying.
Forced vacation, the FBI went through my bags, things like that.
Well, so you mentioned MCI, which most people know if they travel is the shorthand for the Kansas City airport. And if you're watching the video edition of the show, you see your KC hat. And so that would give most people the impression, as you and I have talked about before, as being in the middle of the country is wonderful. But you, from Kansas City.
Absolutely. Born and raised. I love this place. I will, if I got my choice, I'll never leave this place.
Really?
It has been, it shaped who I am. You know, created well, my parents as well, but it created an environment that one would want to grow up in. And I faced all the same challenges that everyone else does when they're younger, but Kansas City is home. No matter where I am in the world, Kansas City is home. No matter if the Royals suck or the Chiefs are great, Kansas City is home.
I know that's such an easy statement to make, by the way, right now. We're like, because I have multiple friends who are Kansas City fans, and it's like, okay, if the Chiefs suck, but Mr. 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, it's very easy.
Yeah, very well. You know, and I mean, I wasn't always a Kansas City fan. You know what I mean? I wasn't. I was not a Patriots fan, but I was a Tom Brady fan. I know that's sacrilege right now.
Yeah.
Sacrilege. But I was a Tom Brady fan. And, but, you know, when we started, you know, picking up steam and Patrick Mahomes came into the picture, it's hard not to root for them. It's hard not to root for them because the things they do are so magical. And just then the way they make the city feel and make the city feel alive. So to have a championship opportunities and, you know, several championship wins, I mean, what can you complain about? You can't ask for more.
Yeah, but you have also all of the Taylor Swift attention coming your way as well, so there's that too.
It's not really a bad thing.
I remember when it was last season and the Chiefs were coming back to town, and I was coming back to town from somewhere, and we were at MCI, and there were Swifties at the airport, and there were so many of them, and it's so great to have a following, just not at the airport. I got things to do. I don't, you know, I'm sure she's great, but, you know, I mean, it's a good time. It's definitely, the attention's good. We just got to make sure Travis Kelce keeps performing. That's what we got.
So my favorite part about MCI is that you guys have a brand new airport now.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. So like the Taylor Swift phenomenon happens. And then one day, like we're flying to MCI for work and I get off the plane And immediately I'm like, I don't know where I am because I've never been to this airport before. But
Yeah.
there's a bunch of Travis Kelce jerseys everywhere. So I'm like, man, Taylor Swift must be in town. I didn't make the obvious connection that I was actually in Kansas City.
What's crazy is I don't know why they would show up to that airport. There's a downtown airport that she'd likely fly into. And, so,
Right.
but I'm not going to tell them that. I'm just going to keep on.
Oh my God. So I'm curious, like born and raised in Kansas City, but as you had mentioned when we were talking about batteries exploding in check bags, you had a previous life. So you actually went into the military.
I did. I spent 10 years in the United States Navy, served this great country. Wouldn't change it for the world, and had some good times and some bad times. But I think that overall, the leadership that I had in the Navy prepared me for being a leader here, and so that I don't make some of the mistakes that I've seen get made. And I think that overall, the military taught me. First of all, it taught me how to love the country, to understand what we're fighting
Mm.
for, to go to different places and see how other people are living and see what they have and they don't have. So, every time that I get to touch American soil, no matter what state it is, I realize how much I love this great country. I'm proud to have defended it in some of the worst times that we've had. And don't get me wrong,
Mm.
I had a blast, but I had,
No pun intended.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
right. They were paying me to have fun sometimes. So I just, it's one of those things, my father was in the Navy, or excuse me, my father was in the Army. My grandfather was in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy, and
Oh my
I
God.
decided to serve as well. I come from a long line of
Yeah, this was
military
inevitable,
service.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I was not a great student in school, and so not a whole lot of colleges were lining up to give me give me scholarships. So I said,
Right.
I'll go, I'll go serve the country and make something of myself. And that's what we did.
Well, and then of course to bring it all full circle, you wound up in AEW. And
Full circle.
yeah, to bring it back to how we even got here, and kind of talking about how AEW, of course, employed at one point famed seamstress Sandra Gray, and
The goat.
she really, the goat. She really laid a lot of the foundation for the the wardrobe department in AEW. But here you are, really at the top, head wardrobe artist. So how did that all come to be?
Uh, First and foremost, I got to thank Sandra. Uh, she gave me so much and continues to give me so much knowledge. But I fell backwards into this job. I had no intention of working at AEW. I had no intention of being a gear maker. I had no intention of this being my primary sources of income. I think anybody, when you can make money off of your artwork, it just seems insane. People pay me to do stuff that I enjoy doing. So it's not like work, but the AEW had a show in Kansas City at the Silverstein Arena in Independence. And, I did Fuego del Sol's gear, and I brought it,
Mm.
and then I brought a portfolio for Sandra to see. And, I treated it like a job interview, because a lot of times I notice, people don't treat this like a job interview, and I wanted to treat it like, hey, if you're going to take a look at me, I'm going to give my due diligence to give the
Will
respect.
this be? Was this in 21?
It had to
22?
be.
Okay.
I think it's 21. It had to be. Uh, and she saw my work, and then we got along great. Um, I always called her Mima because she was in bed by like 9 o'clock.
Oh,
And it was afterwards, you couldn't talk to her. So, uh, but she called me like 2 days later and said, "Hey, we'd like you to come to New York and start traveling with us." And uh, trust me, I had no idea what I was doing. Still don't. But it's one of those things that I'm super proud of where how far I've come. And after she retired, uh, they were looking for somebody to lead the department, and I said I could probably do that. And so here we are.
damn. This is wild. I like that it's just like, oh yeah, you have this goat that everyone in the industry knows, and now it's just, nope, now you have her job. Good luck. Have fun.
It's like,
And
take it easy, buddy. You know what I mean?
right. peace, gonna go retire, bye. She just like
Yeah.
dives away. But I mean, like, you're absolutely killing it. Like, you're doing incredible work. I constantly see you working both in arena and not in arena. And I'm just so excited to talk more about you, and more about what you do here on AEW Unrestricted after a quick break.
AEW Unrestricted, Sabri and Will with our special guest, Chris Estelle. He is the head wardrobe artist for All Elite Wrestling. And Chris, I want to ask you about really some of your favorite gear stories, talking about some of your favorite designs that you've gotten to make and some of the inspirations behind those designs.
I think, first and foremost, I think working with Brian Daniels has been a highlight of anything that I've ever done, because he's so kind, and he lets you be free. He'll tell you, what colors or what. I think just his past Wembley. I'm not gonna lie. I went out because I didn't see any of the show. To be honest. I was so busy, but I went out and I got to see him come down the ramp, and that was a long ramp too. So I got a real good look at it, and I I won't lie. Like, I welled up with tears a little bit because it's like, this is, with, I didn't know, but he would then go on to become champion. So
Mhm.
I've had a great track record of working with champions in the company. And so now I work with him as the champion, which has been amazing. But the scales is a question I get constantly.
Mhm.
And yes, they are sewn on. Yes, they are cut on a machine. Yes, they
Mhm.
are real fabric, and it takes forever. And there's scales on my floor right now from almost every jacket I've made just because I refuse to pick them up. And
So my favorite thing about the scales is one, like, I was having this conversation with Salem in our makeup department, like, that you're one of the people that has defined Brian Danielson's look in this final part of his career, which is kind of incredible. Like, when you say it like that, it's just like, oh shit. But
that
like,
just
I
hit me.
remember it was World's End last year, and I came up to you with one of my ref shirts, which you are very responsible for making me look so good. And I said, "Hey, can you alter this?" And without even looking at me, you're like, "No," because
I
you're
did
making
that.
this freaking jacket for Wrestle Kingdom,
That's right.
and it was the first one you had done. And then after that, he's like, "Okay, just make all of them." And I'm just like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
Brian has no idea what he just asked for.
that was so, and to this day, it's so brutal to do these. Uh, but he looks different.
Mhm.
And when you got guys on the roster, for instance, like I don't get to work with these guys, but like the House of Black, their look is so defined. You know
Mhm.
who they are as soon as you see them. If you were to see a jacket of theirs laying around, it doesn't even have to have their name on it. You know it belongs to them. And
Mhm.
that's, I mean, other than Brian's logo being on his jacket, when you see the scales, you know who it belongs to.
Yeah.
And that was my goal, was to, because Brian, his gear, while great, it didn't change a lot over the years, from all the companies that he had been in. So I was like, if I get a hold of him, let's see if we can do something different.
If.
And, well, yeah, I, but yeah, his, and then I think my favorite from this year though is probably MJF's Wembley gear. It was
Mhm.
so ridiculous and so over the top. And I hated stitching every piece of thread into that because it was like, this is so obnoxious. But that's the only way I like MJF is when he's obnoxious.
I mean,
So,
it's the only way that we get to deal with him. So it's,
right.
do you really have any other option? Like, I don't think so.
I don't think so. And then on the other side of it, Soraya is one of my favorite people. She kind of just gives me free reign. Says, just do it. And we, we changed her to red from
Mhm.
black, and man, she looks good in red. So it's just one of those things, and that's what I'm really big on is if you don't look good in something, I'll tell you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'll tell you, like, that doesn't compliment you. But when she put that red on, and I remember when she came around the corner and I saw her, and I was like, wow, you definitely made the right decision.
Mhm.
So,
She looks great.
and just everyone else that I get to work with, I've worked with FTR, I've worked with John Moxley, uh, Chris Jericho is one of the guys who I can always count on to come up with something last minute. And uh,
Well,
just
talking about last minute, there was a couple of stories I wanted to talk about because I think one of the more humorous ones, and I knew it was going to come your way the second it was pitched in the office, but Christian Cage in the turtleneck ref shirt.
Yes.
so that idea was Christian's idea. He said,
Don't
"Hey, can
say
you make me?
it.
You can make me a ref shirt." And you know, the biggest compliment from him was, "It turned out better than I ever thought it would."
Mhm.
And I believe that when a talent compliments you like that and you exceed their expectations, that only solidifies that you belong there. So that was the most atrocious shirt that I have ever made, and he wore it like a champ.
Dude, I was watching Collision and I saw him come out in that, and I went, this is just so over the top. Chris has to be responsible for this. And then I saw like on your Instagram after it aired, like, I'm like, oh, I friggin' knew, I called it.
Yeah, I only, when I posted that on Instagram, I could only put, yeah, it was me. You
I
know
know,
what I
I
mean?
saw, I was like, yeah,
Yeah, it was me.
sorry, everybody.
But it got a great reaction from our fans, and even from, people who, don't really watch wrestling. That, a lot of people were just commenting on it and saying it's the best and worst thing I've ever seen. So I, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the over the top, aspects of what we do. And Christian Cage, he knows who he is. He knows his character, and it fit him perfectly.
But on the other side of that, and again, if you don't want to tell the story, you don't have to. But then this one like kind of leaked on the internet, and I thought it was an astonishing testament to what you're able to do. And it was Allentown, Pennsylvania. And you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
Yeah, because it was one of those nights where we wanted Ultimo Guerrero. We had advertised him, but we had advertised him with his mask. And so, but when he showed up to the building, he didn't have a mask. And we spent the day looking around all of Pennsylvania, any place within driving distance, to find an Ultimo Guerrero mask. And we came pretty close, but it was like they were closing, and we did not have an Ultimo Guerrero mask. But on all of the advertising, we had already put Ultimo Guerrero with a mask. And so we had only one place we could turn, and that was to you.
Well, I'll give you that story. Jimmy Jacobs comes up to me, and Jimmy and I've maybe spoken to Jimmy 5 times, and so he comes up to me and he says, "Well, Ultimo Guerrero, and this is 2 hours before the show started."
Oh, yeah.
And we thought he had the mask. In our defense, in the office's defense, we thought he had it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I said, "Well, Jimmy, I can't do that. Like 2 hours, a lucha mask takes, 2 days at least. And I'm not great at doing that anyway." And so he said, "Well, you got to tell the boss." And so I was like, I just got to tell the boss, this isn't possible.
Oh, my God.
So about 5 minutes later, there I am making a mask. And, and, it, for what the time I had, it wasn't bad, but
I was impressed, honestly, like genuinely. I was floored. When I saw that mask, I was like, the fact that you whipped that up in 2 hours, like is a straight up testament to your abilities. And the fact that like you had all the doubt in the world, but the fact that you pulled that off.
I mean, just to emphasize this point, like there is a unique skill set when building lucha masks. Like it's one thing to make gear, it's an entirely different thing to make a mask. And like if you deconstruct one that was made in Mexico, like they're extremely high quality. It's like there are people whose whole jobs is just making masks. So it's like this is a huge undertaking, and just to kind of stress the point of how crazy this story is. Like,
well, I didn't have everything that you would need. I didn't have the main thing that you would need to make a mask, and that's twill tape to keep the shape. So most masks are made of spandex, and the twill tape on the inside of the seams, it keeps the shape to your head. So I didn't have that, but we did get a mask created, and I had some help. My buddy John, he cut out some of the stuff for me while I was trying to do it. And, I didn't get to do the lace up in the back. So our phenomenal production team, did a great job in hiding some of the flaws within it. But Ultimo Guerrero could not have been nicer about it. He actually put a really nice Facebook post out thanking me for the work that I did. And then I think it was Bandito came up to me not too long ago, and he was like, "You're a hero in Mexico." And I was like, and I was like, I don't know why, but the Mexican culture, the Hispanic culture, um, is I'm so fascinated by it, and to be able to have someone, a legend like Ultimo Guerrero, say something like that about me, say some kind words, is truly a testament to how he received it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wore it again. He wore it like 3 or 4 more times. But he wore it as an entrance piece to the ring, which is exactly what it should have been.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was the most stressful time I've ever had it. The most stressful because in my eyes, if I get this mask wrong, I'll never be able to go to Mexico to do anything. You know what I mean? And so luckily, he was really nice about it, and being the legend that he is, he appreciated my work. So yeah, but when Jimmy comes up to you and says we need a mask in 2 hours, the answer is never no.
Yeah.
Put it like that.
Especially when the next phrase is, then you have to tell the boss. It's like, well, how much do you like your job? Like,
Yeah, right. Well, it was that, and then I could just tell in the boss's eyes that no matter what I said, I was going to be doing this, man.
you're going to say yes, and you're going to do this. That's just how
So,
this works.
And
It's
like in everybody's defense here, like I think Tony, especially knowing Tony as well as I do, I feel like he has a lot of trust in you. Like when it comes to really anything, there's so many times where we'll be preparing for a post show press conference, and it's literally like, okay, need Chris. I know Chris is going to be good for making sure that I look good, making sure I have the right tie, making sure I have whatever. And I think, in Tony's view, he saw, we needed this mask, and he knew if there was one person who would be up for the challenge, even with all of the doubt you could possibly have in it, he knew you would be the one. And I think that's a testament to everything you do for our talent, everything you do for Tony, and it's trial by fire.
it truly is. And speaking of Tony, I'm big on the executives in the company always looking the part.
mm-hmm.
Always making sure that whether it's getting their pants hemmed or having a clean shirt on standby or whatever the case may be. Tony's one of those. He's the boss.
Mm-hmm.
He's the face. So he cannot go to a media scrum or anything looking bad. And he trusts me enough to know that I will tell him, "Hey man, you probably need a new shirt," or something like that. And it's come to the point now I just drop shirts off at pay-per-views. I'll just drop them off. If he wears them, he wears them. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think the company overall has trust in me that I have the best interest of the company in mind anytime
Mm-hmm.
I do anything. And I believe that kind of atmosphere can only breed success. And AEW is one of those places that success is hard to come by,
Mm-hmm.
but when you get it, you better treat it well. And
It's not just that, it's that you work hard to hold on to that.
Exactly.
It's the success and the respect, right? Because it's one thing to earn it, but like you can lose it real quick in this business.
Very quickly. And it's one of those things that you have to look at, what am I here for? Oftentimes I've seen individuals get caught up in wanting to be one of the boys, and of
Mhm.
course being one of the boys would be great, but I'm almost 40 years old, so I can't be I can't be doing what they do anymore. And so I know what I'm there for. I know why I'm there, and I know that people want me. And so
Mhm.
that's all I need.
Mm. 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 So good. Okay. So much more to talk about. Another quick break here at AEW Unrestricted. AEW Unrestricted, Aubrey and Will talking to Chris, and in the course of the time that we have started this podcast, he has gotten 32 text messages requesting gear. So if it hasn't been clear up to this point how important and pivotal he is to the success of AEW, I don't think I've gotten 32 texts in a single day. Like, let alone.
It's rough. It's rough.
Oh my God, it's rough. How do you manage all of it? Because like you're flying in with a sewing machine, you're sewing in your room in the hotel, you're constantly working at the venue, and I know you're working at home. Like, how do you manage all of this?
I can't take any credit for it. I have a wonderful team.
Mm,
Um, my team is consisted of Adrian, Emily, Rich, uh, Landon. We have created something that works, and I'm a big believer in defer the credit to the team, and when something gets screwed up, you take the heat. It's just
mm,
good. It's just the way it is. That's good leadership. So at any point in time, here's a good story. On the team, just was it 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, Chris Jericho's yellow jacket that he wore to the ring. I was on my flight when Chris texted me,
mm-hmm,
and I said, well, I can't print any graphics. I can't do anything because I'm currently in the air.
mm-hmm.
And when I got to the town, I was like, I'm not gonna have any resources. So I text Adrian and I text Landon and I said, hey guys, this is what we got to do. And Adrian printed out the graphics and overnighted them to me. And I teamed with Landon to get the graphics position, and then he sewed them on. Without them, I don't get that done. So creating a teamwork environment, a team first environment is how I manage it. Don't get me wrong. It drives me absolutely insane, but, it's always team first. And those guys, they deserve a lot of the credit because sometimes I have to move on and do other things and they're finishing my work.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, being having a solid team is how we manage this roster.
Yeah. I remember seeing that jacket when I did the match, and afterwards I told Chris, I was like, that's a good jacket for you. It's very Fisher Price. Like it's perfect for the current iteration of his character.
Yeah, and especially with the big high guys on the back, like, and Chris is such a pleasure to work with too. He's so creative. And when he tells you, hey man, just let's do something with this, he's giving you the right. He's giving you the okay. He says, I trust your creative ability to not make me look like a fool when I go out there. And I think that is the biggest compliment you get from one of the goats of wrestling. So
Mm-hmm. Wild.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about um, was the recent. It occurred at San Diego Comic Con, but we had the Battle of the Booty,
Oh no.
um, and
Oh
just
no.
watching your face immediately. And so, of course, this was a collaboration with Adult Swim, and being that it's exactly what it was, you had to make costumes for this. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how did you find out? When did you find out about this? And what was the process going through having to make essentially famed Adult Swim characters that fit the mold of professional wrestlers playing those characters?
so I got told about this about 2 weeks before it,
Hmm.
and I was I wasn't ready for the challenge, but I was told you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, teamwork. Um, the people over at Adult Swim couldn't have been nicer. They couldn't have been greater to work with. Uh, I had to be reminded that they're not wrestling people, so
No.
they don't understand what we do. They didn't understand what I do. So I had to walk them through. This is how it's going to be done. And we got all seven characters done. Adrian did several characters. Rich did several characters. I did several characters. The makeup team that was there, they did an amazing job. But more, most importantly, people who watch, Adult Swim and those specific shows, they like their characters.
Mm-hmm.
They like the way they are. You don't change them. And so for me, it was how do I respect the character in the show while bringing a pro wrestling theme to it? And I think that we did a phenomenal job. Adult Swim couldn't have been happier with how it went down. Tony was there as well. And, when he walks up to you and says, hey, great job, that's all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he was happy, then that's all I needed. If he wasn't happy, I wasn't going to come to work the next Wednesday. You know what I mean? I was not going to be there. But I took that on as, in my head, I took that job on as, your job's on.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kill this. You have to do it. And to be out at San Diego, I had never been to a company. And so to be out there and to see all of the creativity that, people who don't do what I do,
to see them out there in their costumes, and it was just such a great environment. And then the show was wonderful. Um, the wrestlers that we had in the costumes, they couldn't have been any better. I wouldn't switch any of those guys out with any other worker because they did a really good job as well. And it was nice to do something non-wrestling but wrestling,
Mhm.
and I had an absolute blast. And then I think there was a pay-per-view like the next day or something. Or I had to fly right
Blood
back
and
out.
Guts was the day before.
I had to fly back to, it's either Collision or something.
We had Collision. We had Collision in Arlington the very next day.
That's right. So I got up, I did Comic-Con, and I got an hour of sleep, got up, flew to Arlington, and then did
Was
Collision.
it Battle of the Belts also? Was it Collision Battle of the Belts? I feel like
I think it might have been, because Blood and Guts was the day before.
Mhm.
Comic-Con was Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday was the
It was
Arlington.
ROH pay-per-view. That's what it was.
That's what you're absolutely right.
Yes,
ROH
yeah.
pay-per-view.
How did I know something and neither of you did? Like, this doesn't, no.
My brain is frozen in certain
Yeah,
parts
it
of
was
mine.
Ring of Honor. Well, that's what it was. It was Ring of Honor, and that's where my I was failing to make the association because I'm thinking like AEW didn't have a pay per view, but we did have Death Before Dishonor.
That's right.
A phenomenal show, like top to bottom. That
The
was
whole Arlington run was great. I thought.
I have such fond memories of that whole run in Arlington. I'll always think of the churros.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I will go back just for that.
Yeah, churros and catering like on a regular basis. How is this not
Absolutely.
happening on the road?
Can someone tell whoever's planning all in Arlington that we need churros and catering?
Yes.
Churros
absolutely.
and gamer chairs. That was my favorite
The
part
gamer
of it.
chairs. Yeah.
Gamer chairs. I've never, like, I have a gamer chair here in my office, but I had never on the road got to work in a gamer chair. Totally spoiled me.
And then it was all of the rooms. God, all the rooms. Because the side story was successfully able to sneak a talent who needed to meet with Tony into the building. But had to not be seen. I guess we could tell it now because they've returned. But like it was Jamie Hayter who had to make her return. It was before All In, and until we could get her. We didn't want her to be seen by talent, didn't want her to be seen by fans. And the fact that that building had enough people to hide her in the back room and sneak her in. And then when it was time to meet with Tony, we were able to do it. And it was cool and nobody knew. And it was fun.
I think that's cool. That's really cool.
One of the things that I wanted to kind of bring it full circle. See, you talked about at the beginning, this not being something that you really saw as a career for yourself, but you knew that you had to take the chance. And the thing that I really wanted to ask you was how did this even become, even from a hobby standpoint, how did it become something that you were even interested in?
I've always known how to sew. My mom taught me how to sew when I was a kid. And then Mrs. Sonia Felder, when I was in middle school, she had me sew a football. I think we all did something like that in high school or middle school. We sewed a football in home ec, and it wasn't that great. And then she took it and she threw it at me, and she's like, "Do it right or don't do it at all." And so I did it, and she was great in coaching me. And then I went to the Navy, and then I altered all my own clothes because the uniforms, they never fit. And so I altered all my own clothes there. And then when I got out, I got into independent wrestling, and then I had a friend named Marty Bell who I fixed a pair of shorts for her and then created another pair of shorts for her. And then she told somebody else told somebody else. And then I was making gear for the indies, and then COVID happened. So that's when I really learned how to do this. And I made a couple thousand masks and donated them to retirement homes and schools and stuff like that. And it was just from there I really started to appreciate the craftsmanship that it takes. And then, the first, time, like I said, with Sandra was like, that was the first time I had ever done anything for anybody on TV. And Ruby Soho was also one of the first ones to take a chance on me. It was New Year's Eve, and I was just sitting around, and I got a call from a number I didn't know, and it was Ruby.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Hey, my gear maker backed out. I got this big championship match on Wednesday. I was wondering if you could do something for me." And I had like 3 days, and I did it, and I'll never forget. I sat upstairs as a fan. I sat upstairs with my mom and my family, and I watched Ruby Soho walk out that tunnel. It was something that I made, and that right there told me you can do this.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's just taken off from there. And I've had so many great people who support me. You never do it by yourself. You never do it. And people open doors for you, and it just takes courage to walk through them. That's all it is, and so I mean, that's where I'm at with it now. I'm very happy here. I'm very excited for what's upcoming. And I think my favorite part about the job is when I get surprised. Like, like when we were at All In Wembley, I was, one of the production people came and grabbed me and said, "Hey, we need you to come over here to this room." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine. That's okay." I knock on the door, opens, it's Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, how are you?" Like, and he just needed me to do something real quick for him. But that's just one of those things that wrestling can still surprise me after
Mhm.
all these years. So it's the love of the game. That's why I'm here.
It's one of those things where like I mean I casually mention it, but like you're responsible for altering all of my shirts because
Mhm.
they don't make women's size referee shirts. They make dude sizes, and even if it's a small, makes it look like I'm wearing a trash bag. And now it's to the point where I just hand it off to you and you don't even have to measure or tweak anything. You've just got this shit memorized, which is great. And I remember specifically, I think one of the first times I met you, you were working with Sandra still. And she specifically asked me, like, "Hey, do you have any shirts that need to be done? Because this is the only thing I haven't taught Chris yet."
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it like
See,
always sticks in my mind and it's great. And every time I see like a new Brian Danielson jacket or new Jericho gear or new MJF gear, no matter how obnoxious it is, like brown and lime green, like that's disgusting, but like
yeah,
somehow you made it work. Every time I see something from you, it's always excellent. It's always top tier. It's always just like it's got a stamp of approval on it that I don't think other people have the capacity to hit. It's just so absolutely good.
I had to be reminded by one of my one oh we know him, Jacoby Watts.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the roster, wrestles for Ring of Honor. He's like, "Chris, you don't realize like you're some people's North Star. You're
Mm-hmm.
where they want to go."
Mm-hmm.
And it's that when he said that, that just cemented it in my mind. Like you can't be putting out crappy work, dude.
Nope.
You have to um you have to make sure that it's TV ready. And trust me, I run across a lot of things that come across my table that are not TV ready, and you know who I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, and then I end up having to fix them, which is fine.
We
But
won't name names, but
yeah, we're not going to name names, but you know who you. But you know, just knowing that where I am is the destination that some people wish to reach
mm-hmm.
motivates me because I'll tell you straight up, like you're not going to knock me off this mountain. I'll walk away when I want to,
Hell yeah.
and that's the kind of work ethic that I have. And you're welcome to join me. You know what I mean? You're welcome to join me, but God willing, I'm not going anywhere. And AEW is the place to be for me and for anyone who wants to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as your shirts, it's just a shirt. You make it look good.
Hey.
Aubrey doesn't need the shirt. The shirt needs Aubrey.
Oh.
And you know what I mean? So
you just want me to buy the coffee next time.
Oh, I mean,
Chris, this has been an absolute pleasure having you here on AEW Unrestricted. And you can see all of Chris's work across all the shows that we do on a weekly basis because AEW is everywhere, and we're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to be in front of you. If you want to catch more of this podcast, definitely check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search AEW Unrestricted. You can also check out video editions of this show on our YouTube channel, our AEW Unrestricted YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and catch up on all the latest AEW shows on the go when you download the TNT and TBS apps from the App Store and Google Play. Then sign up for our weekly newsletter at tntdrama.com/elite fleet to get updates on upcoming shows, live events, sweepstakes, merchandise, and more.
You can watch Dynamite on Wednesdays on TBS. You can watch Ring of Honor Honor Club every Thursday. You can watch Rampage on TNT every Friday. You can watch Collision TNT on Saturday. And literally, Chris's gear is on every single show that we do. So you may not know it, but you've been enjoying his work this entire time. I am Aubrey Edwards here with Will Washington. Thank you so much for listening to AEW Unrestricted.